There we go. We're live.
We're live. All right. Live from Florida, Texas, Wisconsin, and
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yep.
How's it going, guys?
Going great. Going great. Thank you, Dante, for deciding to set this up and invite us all. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, I figured it would be great for us all to be able to get together.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm hearing everything twice for some reason.
Do you have two tabs open maybe? Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, if you have two tabs open on another computer, maybe.
Well, while Dante's doing that, maybe should we just go around and introduce yourselves?
That sounds good.
That'd be great.
Cool. Kevin, you want to go first?
Yep. Kevin Wilson, Charleston, South Carolina. I've been a full carnivore for probably since March. Went full carnivore in March. Carrie, you and I met a couple weeks ago. I told my story on a previous live stream. But definitely with the holidays coming up and all the challenges of getting together with family and people who in the family and friends who maybe aren't carnivores or who don't really understand that, right? It's a tricky thing at times to navigate all of these situations and be able to socialize, not be able to hurt people's feelings. And how do we as carnivores get through the holidays and stay true to our nutrition? So excited to be on. Thanks for having me here, guys.
Awesome. Larry, what about you?
All right. Carnivore Soldier coming at you from Austin, Texas. So, I'm a retired U.S. Army Chief Warrant Officer. Retired in 2019. Put on a ton of weight. Well, my story is in 2017, I had some service-related injuries. One was an ankle. I could no longer run after 2017 at all. And so I had a walking profile in the Army, which means you can walk during your PT test, which for one thing is a mental weight on you just because you can't run anymore. You don't feel like you're a full soldier. But then when I got out, I still couldn't run. So I figured the rest of my life I'd never run again. And I put on a lot of weight because I got out, I was about 255 or 260. I went up to 280. And then in March, like Kevin, I saw Dante Fragno's video. And then I watched that transformation video of the lion diet for 123 days or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly, but Dante knows. And then I was like, well, that's BS. There's no way that's an old video. Let me see what he looks like now. And I looked at it, I was like, whoa. And then I did a little research and I saw Dr. Barry on it. And I knew Dr. Barry from keto because I'd done keto to get ready for schools in the Army because I knew it worked to get me prepped, lower weight. So I saw Dr. Barry did. I'm like, well, this is legit then because that guy's totally legit. I totally trusted him. And then I found all you guys and you, Carrie, and all these other, content creators. And I went on full carnivore. I like to say I did like Cortez did, and I burned my ships with 600 troops, and I conquered a nation. Right? That's what I did. I was like, I'm just emptying the garbage. Everything's going in the garbage. I'm doing 100%, and either it's going to work or it's a scam, and it's not going to fail because of me though. I'm going to do it. So I did it, and I lost. I lost 46 pounds. So I'm 234 now. I'm back like I was in college. And I know is what the weight I was in the 90s. Okay. And I know that because I got this ring on right now. And that ring is actually a submarine warfare medal I had made into a ring that I wore in the 90s when I got out. I was in submarines before I was Army. I was Navy for 6 years. And I made this medal, put it on my finger, and I used to wear it around. And after the 90s, my finger got too big, so I couldn't put it back on one day. And I just never wore it again. And it sat in a bowl on my desk as a memento until this week. And I took it out and I put it on. I was like, no way, that fits. I'm back to where I was in the 90s.
Wow.
This diet is my hot tub time machine.
Awesome. That's great. I have a very similar story to yours, Larry. Shout out Dante. I found Carnivore Diet through Dante 272 days ago and changed my life forever. I'm down 100 pounds since my heaviest. I lost some of that on keto before going on carnivore, but most of it on carnivore. And the biggest thing for me, I stopped snoring. Sleep apnea went away. I was diagnosed with IBS. That's gone. I had arthritis so bad in my foot I could barely walk. That's gone. But the biggest game changer for me was over 10 years of just horrible depression and anxiety that is completely gone on carnivore diet. So I I've been doing YouTube for like 8 years before ever doing anything related to carnivore. I was going to do one carnivore video about my 30-day update. It kind of went crazy. And I've heard so many stories, just like Larry's. So many people, Dante, that have found carnivore through you. And then they say, no, this guy's crazy. This Dante guy's nuts. He's an outlier. And then they went to Dr. Barry. The same thing that Larry said was my case too. I watched Dante's video and I'm like, there's something. This guy's something. He's crazy, this Dante guy. But yeah, then I watched a bunch of Dr. Barry videos and finally decided to start. And long story short, I'm working on a documentary now. Got to show my shirt off here.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Humanity. Got the bracelets.
That's awesome.
We filmed, we filmed Bill in Alaska. We filmed Maggie in Canada. We filmed Jeff DeProsperous, who's going through stage 4 cancer, and he's just thriving on carnivore diet in Canada. And we filmed Dr. Tony Hampton, and we're going to be filming Dr. Barry coming up soon next. So I don't know that I would be doing this documentary or any of this if I didn't find carnivore diet through Dante. I know I gotta stop. I'm going to give Dante a big head, but it's the truth. So I really appreciate you, Dante.
Yep, 100%.
Well, I appreciate you guys too for sharing that, because it's encouraging to me. It's the reason that I keep doing this, is to get people on board with something that's going to change their lives, because I had no idea what I was getting into when I started this either. I mean, I had a little bit of an idea because I had done low carb before with the Atkins diet and all that. But when I started this, it was just a crazy last grasp at some kind of straw to save my health. And the doctors weren't helping me with anything. And when I found out through Jordan Peterson that he had cured a number of issues that he had, and that his daughter had cured a number of issues that she had, and in both cases, the doctors had said there was no answers for these things, I thought, well, why not give it a try? I know at least I'll lose some weight, because I was, pushing close up to 300 pounds again. And I thought, well, at the very least, I can show something to the guys I play this game with, because I was just doing a gaming thing on YouTube at the time. And I thought, I know some of these guys could probably stand to lose a few pounds if they're like me, sitting around playing these games all the time. So I thought maybe this would be something I could share with them, because I knew I was going to lose some weight. But I wasn't even thinking about that in the beginning. I just wanted to be able to get healthy. And I had no idea that it was going to spark so much interest. I didn't know anything about the carnivore community being out here or anything. And it's been a blessing to find, because you start to feel like you're all alone sometimes when you're going through life trying to live this way, because so much of what we do revolves around food, and especially at this time of the year. So I thought it would be really cool that we could get together like this and hopefully be able to encourage folks to face the challenges that are coming up in the next few days. And as a matter of fact, I've been doing a little bit of a challenge here myself for 8 weeks. I've been doing a thing because I've heard so much information about the benefits of fasting, and I've heard negative sides to it as well. So I've heard people on carnivore that belittle fasting because you might lose muscle mass. And then I've heard other people on the other side talk about it being good for losing those hard to hit fat areas, and most importantly, any loose skin that you might have if you were heavy before you started. And I've had a little bit of both of those, so it's been great to give it a shot. I'm fixing to break a 72-hour fast. I'm actually in my 73rd hour now, so I was going to see how I was doing before I do this, and I got a few carnivore crisps here as usual, which is what I usually like to break my fast with. But I'm hoping that this, information that I'm doing will answer some questions that I haven't been able to see any real answers on when it comes to fasting and carnivore diet. And it's a bit of mixed results. I'm going to be making a video this week talking about wrapping it up, but I wanted to be able to, I didn't really plan it this way. It just worked out to where I ate late last Thursday. So I'm breaking it late in the day today, and looking forward to seeing how this all played out. One of the interesting things that I've learned is I knew about ketosis from the experiment with Atkins diet years ago. I had never heard of ketosis before that. And then I found out that basically that's evidence when you have ketones in your urine or ketones in your blood now. Back then, all we had were the urine sticks. And you would check and see if you were in ketosis by peeing on the stick. And that was supposed to be evidence that your body is converting fat into fuel, and that was all I knew about it up until recently when I started digging a little bit deeper in, because mostly what I'm interested in, like I said before, is making sure that my health is where it should be. It's not only about weight, although the fasting has a little bit to do with that too. I want to be able to get I put about 20 pounds on this year from my lowest. And I don't know exactly what changed other than the fact that I got hurt at the beginning of the year and it made it harder to do exercise and then it harder to get back into doing exercise again. So I've been testing this out and hopefully we'll have some good results to share this week when we see how that comes out.
I look forward to seeing your results, Dante. That's really interesting. My friend Jeff DeProsperous has stage 4 cancer, and he's doing this regimen from Professor Seyfried where he fasts every other week. He does a 5-day fast, and he's done it 33 or 34 times now. And one of the remarkable things is he's the exact same height and weight as me. And I was like, aren't you just like wasting away, like losing weight? And he's the exact same weight now that he was 32 cycles ago of doing these 5-day fasts. It's kind of incredible. But that was one of my concerns. He did a 5-day fast and I did it kind of in solidarity with him. And then more recently, he did an 8-day, and I did the 8-day one with him as well. And I lost a couple of pounds, but I seemed to gain it back pretty quick afterwards. So, but it's a good question. I got that comment from so many people when I did my 8-day fast is you're too skinny already and you don't need to lose any more weight. And I was explaining to them, I'm not doing it to lose weight. I'm doing it for all the other reasons. Mitophagy, cell regeneration. I just feel so good when I'm doing the fast, and I've got loose skin to lose as well. So, yeah, definitely be interested to see that video when you put it out.
Well, my blood glucose was at 60.
Nice.
And my ketones are at 3.3. So I got a good deep state of fasting or a good deep state of ketosis going on. And that's where I've been researching as much as I can about how the ketones help your body when it comes to repairing damaged mitochondria, damaged cellular ability to process sugar from years of insulin resistance. I mean, when I started eating this way, I was 48 years old. So I had already had a lifetime of eating things that got me into the condition I was in. And, you do a lot of damage over a long period of time like that. I think that's the thing that's a lot of times missing from people who start doing this way of eating. If they don't have immediate results or their results differ from other people's, it's going to have a lot to do with our genetic ability to handle what we've already done to our bodies, and then our body's ability to repair from that afterward. And the key thing is getting yourself stronger so that your immune system is working better, so that you're able to stay healthy longer, so that you're able to stay strong longer. And that's what the ketosis does, is it allows your body, your cells, to get those energy powerhouses in there that ketones are for the mitochondria, to be able to heal the damage that it has done to it. The mitochondria is what powers the whole cell, so it's important for cellular growth and proper function. And that's what I've been trying to strive for, is seeing if I can get myself as physically healthy as I can possibly be at all times now. I mean, this wasn't a consideration as much before as it is now, because I finally figured out what I was not eating right. And it was just leaving meat off the plate way too often. Now that it's meat every meal, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I started this diet at 56 years old. I'm 57 now. And I've been told I look like I'm in my 40s. I feel like I'm in my 30s. And when I said I couldn't run, I didn't finish that thought. I run sprints now. And I thought I'd never run again in my life. And I feel when I run, I don't feel like an old man running. I feel athletic. So this is an anabolic diet for sure. And I think, Dante, to your point, I think a lot of people, when they try this, they don't give it enough time either. And what happens is they'll do 40 days. It's like, well, didn't get the results I wanted. It's like, you're not even carnivore yet. You're just starting the early adjustment stage. I think you need to go to 90 to 100 days just to get full carnivore, and then you can start healing completely after that point. But I don't think you get the full results in 40 days. That's when people tell me they quit in 40 days. I'm like, well, you haven't tried it yet then, because sorry, that's just not good enough. I'm just sorry. You got to go a little further. And to be honest, very few things in your life are transformational moments or transformational times. Like when I went to the military, I got out of basic, I came out a different person. When I had a son, I came out a different person. When I got married, I came out a different person. When I did carnivore, I came out a different person. It's not just a diet. It's not just a lifestyle. It is a transformational from mind, body, everything, soul. It's transformational.
Yeah, I agree. It was probably about eight weeks for me before I really began to get adjusted. And I started off as keto and then went full-fledged into carnivore around March. And my entire journey, I'm right at 110 pounds down. And at 54 years old, I've had so many people, Carrie, from our live stream just accuse me of being on TRT, steroids or whatever. And hey, thanks for the compliment, but it's all the testosterone, all the anabolic stuff, all the weightlifting, it's all carnivore. And it's amazing how the strength has come back even at 54 years old. Now, I probably can't outbench the 21-year-old me. I used to do bench press competitions and squat competitions when I was 19, 20, 21 years old. And maybe that's why some of the muscle has come back so good for me at 54. But man, the anabolic and just the testosterone levels, I really need to get an updated full panel done. I'm really curious to see where all that's come back. And just, a little over a year and a half ago, my doctor was wanting to put me on some steroid creams and different things like that because my testosterone was so low. But now I don't think I have a problem with testosterone at all. So very similar story. I've had a lot of people, even in the gym, I've had people approach me like, hey man, been kind of watching you and seeing what you're doing. What are you doing? Can you give me some workout secrets? And every time somebody opens that door, it's not so much about what I'm lifting or how I'm lifting. I tell everybody it starts with nutrition. It starts with what's coming in your mouth. And for me, and I've shared this with Carrie, I'm really passionate now about dispelling this myth of a calorie is a calorie. You just got to eat less and move more. And I don't prescribe to that anymore. I'm active and I think we should be active, but a calorie is not a calorie. And what we put in our mouths and how it begins and how our body responds to what we eat, it is so important. We'll talk more about that as the night goes. I'm pretty sure I got some more thoughts on that. I could talk forever.
I agree. I used to do tons of cardio when I was in the Army to keep my weight down. But on this diet, no cardio, zero. I run sprints, zero cardio.
I do walk. I do some walking.
I walk my dog
and
I sprint.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard similar from so many people, and I've noticed it for myself too, that the muscle seems to come on so much easier with less effort on carnivore. I get that comment often, and I notice it for myself too. I do have my Dante Ferrigno rucksack over there that I've been using, but other than that, I haven't been lifting too much. I do little pull-ups here and there, but yeah, it seems like the muscle goes on really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Looks like we got a fair amount of people in the chat here.
Yeah, people are chiming in.
So we were going to chat some more about the holidays and how to get through the holidays. How did you guys get through Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving was interesting for me real quick because, as I mentioned, my friend Jeff, we did this 8-day, he did an 8-day fast. I did it with him. So I actually fasted over Thanksgiving. So that's one way to get through the holidays. I seemed like a complete jerk. Everyone was eating and I was just sitting there with my glass of water drinking. But how did it go for you guys?
For me, I mean, like over Thanksgiving, we go up to my sister-in-law's house a little ways away from here. And, I'm probably not as strict as some of you guys. I'm each each week I get a little more strict, but I've already determined for Christmas, the holidays, it's carnivore. So, and I think my family and my extended family is picking up on that. Now, a lot of my family is not carnivore. My wife is, but my extended family, they're very gracious, and we plan ahead. So, if for Christmas it's bring your own steak, and we're going to grill out steaks. And now there'll be other stuff, other people will eat things other than steak, but for me, I'm gonna stick with my steak. But it's really, for me, it's planning ahead. Like this weekend, Deborah and I took a trip to the upstate of South Carolina, and you're gonna think I'm crazy, but before we left, I had some hamburger patties that I had grilled up, and I put those in a Tupperware dish, and I took those with me. And if I get hungry, I'll snack on a hamburger patty, like a high-fat hamburger patty. These are a blend of New York strip, brisket, and bacon. And they're probably about 70-30 on the fat level. And for us, I don't know about the rest of you, and I want to hear and learn from you guys, but for me, it requires a lot of planning. I find that if I put myself in a situation I'm not prepared for, more than likely, I'm not going to be that successful. And for me, it really requires me to plan ahead and think through that.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely requires some planning ahead. It also requires keeping your mind in the right place, because it's an easy place to step out of line, as I did on Thanksgiving, which was so stupid because it was something like I had total control over it. I had a ribeye that morning. I'd brought a ribeye with me. I made it while I was there. I'd already had my meal for the day. I was actually beginning my fast. And then I saw those desserts come out, these homemade desserts that several people had made. And I don't know, I just decided to do it. And then it was just one after the other, like 3 of them, 3 different pieces of pie. And the only thing that was actually good about it is I got to see how sugar affected my blood levels for about a week, because for like 9 days, everything was much lower than it had been. And I felt worse too for those 9 days. I mean, I almost felt sick most of the time, especially at the beginning. It got better as the week progressed. But it's amazing how much it'll set you back. And it was I guess a good reminder, especially for people who watch my videos about it, to don't cheat just because you have the opportunity, because you'll wind up regretting it, first of all. And second of all, you don't want to treat. You don't want to look at these opportunities as being treats. Like sometimes we'll say, I'm going to treat myself today. You're not treating yourself if you're giving yourself something that's going to make you feel awful, or it's going to make you, even just regret your decision, whether you have the resulting feeling or not. But when your body's not used to eating sugar, and then you eat a whole bunch of sugar and some seed oils and other things that you've been keeping out of your system, it can just wreck your day, and it'll make you tired. So if you were planning on having a good time, you might wind up missing time with the family. And then you got it's almost like a hangover the next day. And progressing on. And like I said, it lasted for 9 days solidly, where I just didn't feel like I should. And I wasn't seeing those same numbers I was seeing all that week before. I was surprised at how long it hung around. But, it's a good reminder. It's one of those things where I think most of us have it in our head. Sometimes we want to do something and we're going to do it, even though we know it's not good for us. All I can tell you is, hold back on it one more time. Say no, because it's better if you do. It's better if you say no.
Correct. I agree.
It's awesome that you shared that, Dante. It's like a good lesson for people. I had kind of a similar experience. My wife, Jen, and the girls and I, we went on our first vacation in 10 years. It's kind of hard to get away from our homestead. We got goats and chickens and stuff, but we went on a cruise, and I remained faithfully carnivore the whole time, but I got exposed to some seed oils or something on the cruise, and man, the way you described it, Dante, is kind of how I felt. I just felt like absolute garbage. I didn't have any sugar, but I think it was the bacon or the eggs or something in the morning, and aches and pains started coming back. And then like day 3 or 4 into the cruise, just got into this deep sort of brain fog and then depression, very similar to what I had before. I've never experienced anything like that 270 days on carnivore. Um, but it was kind of interesting what you said earlier, Dante, like getting together, family events and stuff. It's kind of a weird thing, but you can feel kind of lonely, or obviously the odd one out. Um, that's what it that's what it really felt like on this cruise vacation. I felt like I was the designated driver. There's like thousands of people just eating junk food the entire time, and I'm the only one sitting there with my glass of water. It was kind of weird because as a carnivore, I'm pretty weird anyways, and I'm used to kind of being that way. But definitely felt it a lot more then. I think a lot of people will probably feel that during the holidays too, when they're got a bunch of friends and family over and they're all indulging, and you're the only one not.
Yeah, so I hosted Thanksgiving, and thanks to, again, Dante, I've become carnivore, and I shared it with my family. My brother went carnivore, his son did, my son went carnivore, and my son is doing amazing on carnivore at 14. And I didn't force him, he just decided to after he saw the results in me. And he just got another PR on his 3-mile run. He took 2 minutes off his 3-mile run. I'm sorry, 3 minutes off his 3-mile run. So he's now in 8th grade, going into high school next year, and running 21 minutes and 3 miles across country. That's pretty good. 7-minute miles, he's clipping. And the last game of his soccer season, the last weekend of the soccer season was a tournament. He played 3 games and didn't sub out once. And he came to me afterwards. He goes, "Dad, I don't get tired anymore." And he was running full speed the whole time. I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine what it'd be like to be 14 on this thing. It's got to be amazing. But he's totally sold. Like, he went trick-or-treating, got all the candy and gave it to his classmates and became very popular with them, but didn't need any. And my sister, she's carnivore too. So I hosted, and we did smoked reverse seared ribeyes for all the adults. And I smoked them and reverse seared them. And then my brother smoked a turkey and brought that. So the kids had turkey. And then I made my deviled eggs, carnivore deviled eggs. And then I made a couple different flavors of Dr. Kils's ice cream for dessert. And my sister made a carnivore cheesecake. So we had pretty much all carnivore. Wow. Now, we did have some sides that weren't for my brother's wife and his daughter. But his daughter came up asking questions because she's a competitive swimmer, and she sees that now some professional swimmers are doing carnivore. So she goes, "I want to do carnivore." I'm like, okay. So she was asking me all these questions, like, when do cravings go away and all this stuff. I'm like, cool. The dialogue has started. Another young mind turning. Yep. It's really exciting. So, but I agree. Planning. Okay. I'm a military guy. We plan everything, and we plan for the worst. So we always have a saying that 2 is 1 and 1 is none wherever we go. Right. So always have a backup, always have extra. So I eat burgers before I step out the door to go anywhere to a social event. I eat them at home, so I'm not eating in front of people. I'll eat 3 quarter-pound burgers, and then I'll go. And then that gives me at least 5 hours where I'm not even thinking about food. At least, maybe 6, maybe more. And that helps me. I know Dante said he went and had the steak there right before, but I guess I haven't had like desserts put right in front of my nose yet either. But I know that it's not worth it just because I did. So I went full lie-in for a month, and then I came off and started adding things in one at a time. I added coffee back in. Immediately, arthritis came back in my injured areas, my shoulder, my ankle, where I got injured in the military. So I had to cut that out. So now I have no coffee. Arthritis goes away in a week. Boom, gone. So I know that if I eat pie or something, I'm going to hurt physically. So I can't do it. It's not worth it for me. The pain is too much.
I stumbled across something. I think I shared this in my live stream with Carrie. Deborah and I travel a bunch. We're in Charleston. My son's in Clemson University, so it's 4 hours away. So we go up to the upstate a bunch. And I love eggs and bacon. I mean, I can eat eggs and bacon all day long. I only eat sugar-free bacon at home, though. I buy bacon from Costco that has no sugar. It's not cured with any sugar. Now, I also know bacon is not something that I could thrive on. Beef is where I really crave ribeyes and beef, but I do like some bacon every now and then with my eggs. We started using the Waffle House. There's one everywhere. They have real eggs, even though they're not pasture raised eggs, but they're eggs. It's not powdered eggs, stuff like that, and it's bacon. And I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of their bacon doesn't have a lot of curing on it. I mean, it's pretty much just strips of pork. I learned something this weekend, though, because a couple of weeks ago, Deborah and I were traveling and we were hungry. So we pulled into a Waffle House, and it always creates an interesting discussion because I'll order 10 scrambled eggs and a side of bacon. And that's one of my meals a day is 8 to 10 scrambled eggs and 3 to 4 strips of bacon. And the waitress is always waiter is always very intrigued by that, which leads to more conversation, and it's always engaging. But we went and done this the other week, and within about 15 or 20 minutes of leaving there, we both did not feel very well. Well, a lot of people go, well, yeah, you ate at Waffle House late at night, whatever. But, at the end of the day, it's just like eating out anywhere else. But this felt different. And we both about an hour later were like, hey, how are you feeling? I'm like, I don't feel that great. And my energy levels were low. And we just kind of wanted to lay down and, just kind of do nothing. And we're like, this is weird. What's going on? Well, I know what happened. So this past weekend, some friends of ours went out to a Waffle House, and I thought that was butter that they scoop out and put on the grill. And when you get scrambled eggs, I thought they were scooping out melted butter. It's not melted butter. So we were sitting at the bar this time, and I noticed that they were scooping this out. And I'm like, that's not butter, is it? So the manager was there. I said, hey, his name was Joshua. I said, Joshua, can I ask you a question? He's like, yeah. I'm like, is that butter that you guys scoop out for the hash browns and the scrambled eggs? He says, oh, no. I said, what is it? He said, it's soybean oil. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And I mean, I'm talking 2 huge ladles for scrambled eggs. I'm like, oh my gosh. He goes, yeah, you want to see the package it comes in? I said, yeah, I'd love to. And he put this big jug up on the bar, and I turned it around, and the first ingredient was processed soybean oil. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, does every Waffle House use this? He goes, yeah, every Waffle House uses this. I said, hey, could you scramble eggs for me without any oil? He's like, yeah, man. Bingo. I had 10 scrambled eggs, a side order of bacon Saturday morning. Felt amazing. I didn't eat again until later that evening. But just little things like that. Carrie, you talked about how you started getting all that seed oil back into you and how it started impacting you. Man, that seed oil for me now, when I have it, it's like within hours, I am feeling very different.
Mm. Yeah. And similar to sugar, it's in everything nowadays. And I've been learning more about it. And who was it that was talking about it? It could stay in your body. They did some study or something. It stay in your body for years. Like they've done tests years later. It's still in your body. So it's a scary thing.
Yeah, it's not just eggs they do it with. They do it with steaks at a lot of restaurants too.
Everything.
So if you go to a restaurant, you can tell them you have an allergy. You have a vegetable oil allergy. So please fry my steak in butter or use a clean griddle, and just use the animal fat. Let it fry. Otherwise, they'll do that. So yeah, it's a grill oil, or they have a spray, right? The spray for the grill. Same thing. It's all vegetable oil.
Yeah, Bill Knott hit it on the head here.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the comments. I'm glad somebody's keeping an eye for them.
I'm keeping an eye on them, and if anyone has questions, I posted on the side. Just put a Q in front of it. So we've got a couple here on the side. I don't know if we want to take those now or later.
I'm good either way.
Either way. Now, I used to go to movies, and every time I go to a movie theater, I had a routine. I don't know if you guys did. Mine was a large Diet Coke and a large popcorn with butter, which is not butter. It's actually colored seed oil, right?
Right.
And salt. And I can't imagine how detrimental that was for me, that combo. But it was totally, for the metabolism, poison. I mean, bad news. And it took me a while to break that habit. And now I just drink water and I don't eat anything. And I'm totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it was weird at first. I felt kind of naked.
Yeah.
Going in there without anything in my hand just felt weird.
Here's a question from Keto Mama. I think this is for Dante, maybe. Question: what is a good blood ketone number?
Dante?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to see if I could see any comments on my side. What is a good blood ketone number? Well, when I started, anything over 0.5 was good because that was at least trace ketosis. And I thought, well, if, as long as I'm getting in ketosis, that would be a good sign, because before before I started using the meter, I was using some of the pea strips and I was not showing up in ketosis at all. And then in my first week, I think I hit 2.5 on the ketosis, and I was excited about that. And I think the highest I've hit is 3.8, which is pretty deep ketosis. And then today I was 3.3. So it took me a while after eating that way on Thanksgiving to get to where they started to hit the 2s again. And now they're hitting the 3s fairly regularly, especially when I'm fasting. But anything over, 1.5 is amazing, right? Because you're in a good state of ketosis there. You're converting that fat into energy. And that's what you should be looking for, is to make sure you're, over 0.5 is going to be a state of ketosis.
Yep.
Yeah, that GKI number. I got the Keto Mojo. I think that's what you're using, Dante. That's pretty cool when you start looking at the ratio of glucose to ketones. That's a pretty cool metric.
Carrie, there's a question at 6:36 p.m. Oh, sorry, there's a question at 6:36 p.m. from Tanya Harrington.
Let me see.
Sorry to cut you off.
Did we have another question there?
Here we go.
Yeah, it was about coffee when I quit. I think probably me when I brought coffee back and my arthritis came back. So I can just read it off. You don't have to. I guess,
there we go. Found it. Sorry, there's a whole bunch. Not questions, but there we go.
Yeah. So the question was, when you brought coffee back and your arthritis came back, was it black coffee or coffee with dairy? I'm guessing no sugar. Yeah, that's correct. It was just black coffee, because although I left Lion, I still don't. Well, for one thing, I never put anything in my coffee because I'm an Army guy and I like it black and bitter like my soul used to be. But now that I'm on carnivore, I'm not like that anymore, and I don't drink coffee at all. But yeah, it was black and bitter. That's the way I drank my coffee.
Nice.
I've had coffee for a few months now. Ever since I was working the swing shift on my last job, it's been hard to get back off of it, and especially when I'm fasting, it's like I need something other than just water, and it kind of gives me a mental trick sometimes.
Yeah.
If I'll have a little bit of coffee, but I don't really need it. It's just one of those things where it's been hard to quit. Once you get those, caffeine in you, your body just craves it. And then if you start to wean yourself off, if you go too quickly, you get headaches, and coffee can be a rough one. I'm hoping that as my schedule normalizes soon, I'll be able to get back off of that. But it has been a part of the fasting, because it's just nice to have something different. And what I do with my coffee is I usually add a little bit of salt to it, because that takes a little bit of the bite out of it as far as the bitterness of the flavor, and it adds a little bit of electrolytes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a question from Donna Peters. As a woman, I struggle with occasional meat aversion. Do you guys think that meat aversion is really carb addiction in disguise? I'm starting to think it is.
I guess I would be curious, what is the aversion? Is it the texture, or is it just, I'm gonna speak freely here. I was a definite carb sugar addict. I mean, severe addict for 40 years. And I look back over what I've done to my body for 40 years. It's scary. But, I have had some people tell me they've had meat aversions, and I guess I'd love to hear more about what does that mean? And like there's some people I know don't like the texture of meat or whatever. So I'd like to understand a little bit more what she means by that.
Well, I know that when I started eating this way, one of the things that caught me a little off guard was salt being a major portion of the Lion diet, because I had been convinced for years that salt was the enemy, and
Right.
I had high blood pressure when I was starting. So I know from my previous feelings about it is that I got to where I just didn't like the taste of salt, because I just equated it to something that was negative. And before I started eating this way, I thought, okay, well, we're going to see about salt, because it's an important part of this, getting the electrolytes you need to have energy, at least the way I learned about it in the beginning. And for a lot of people, that turns out to be the case, is that the missing ingredient is salt. But ever since I started consuming salt at a higher rate, from none being added to putting it on both sides of my steaks, adding it to my water, adding it to my club soda. And early on, for the first couple of years, that was at least 90% of everything I drank was salted too. But I didn't have an aversion to it because I had already said to myself, well, this is part of what's going to get you better. We're just going to stick with this for 6 weeks, which was my original plan to do for Lion Diet, and see how it does. But it started working so well, so fast. My blood pressure went down within the first 30 days to the point where I was off of my blood pressure medicine within 30 days because it was coming down too low when I would take my blood pressure medicine. But I had convinced myself before that salt was the bad guy. And I had convinced myself that I didn't like it because of that. Now, afterward, knowing how much I crave it, I look forward to having salt in my water or my club soda. I look forward to having the salt on my steak. It's definitely something we can convince ourselves of, just like with meat, because we've been told for 50 years, don't eat red meat. Red meat's going to cause cancer. It's going to cause high blood pressure. It's going to cause diabetes now. I mean, it's like they come at us with everything in the world that it could cause. And yet it's changed everything for me in the opposite direction of everything they've said. So I think people can get it in their head that meat is bad. I know that I used to feel this way about fat too, because even back when I did Atkins diet, I used to think, hey, why wouldn't everybody buy sirloins? Because they don't come with as much fat on them. You get more beef for the money. I thought I was, saving money by getting sirloins and also not eating the extra fat. Now I love the fat, but it was one of those things that I didn't like the texture of it, I would say, or I didn't want to eat the fat because I'd been convinced that it was bad for you. But afterward, total mental attitude change toward it because I realized the value in consuming animal fat, especially.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that aversion can definitely come from something we build up in our heads about it. And it's hard for a lot of people to get over that, because it's hard for really just about everybody, because it's normal to think that meat is bad. It's normal to think that salt is bad. We've been conditioned to think that this is the case. And I'm still surprised, even after 3 years, how many people I run into on a regular basis that they see my salt consumption and they're like, hey, you're going to have high blood pressure. I said, well, I did before I stared doing this.
You're also eating good salt.
Now. That's true. That's true. I always like to point that out.
Yeah.
I would say that a couple things. One, what is meat? Are you talking about steaks? Are you talking about pork? Are you talking about fish? That's one thing. So maybe if you don't like red meat, some people don't, try eggs and fish. I mean, there's other options. Plus, depending on where your heritage is, if you came up from Sweden or the Norway or something where they ate a lot of fish ancestrally, or even the Inuit who eat fish all the time, then maybe your digestive tract and your genome is better suited for eating fish. That's fine. But the other thing is, I think maybe a lot of people just get boredom and they want to vary their diet, and they're still looking for entertainment in their food, right? I just did I do movie reviews on my carnivore movie reviews on my channel too. And I did one on Castaway this week because I realized that was a carnivore movie. And actually Tom Hanks kind of did a carnivore diet to get ready for that when he lost 50 pounds during the movie making. So Castaway, the guy gets stranded on an island and eats fish. And that's all he eats, fish and coconut water, not the kind you buy from the store, real coconut water, and rainwater. And that's all he ate for 4 years. And he got slimmed down and athletic, just like in real life. So you could live off that kind of meat if you want. But in the end of the movie, you notice that he changes from when he goes back to his party, when they find him, they throw a party for him at FedEx and they have all this food laid out. It's all entertainment. And he's not interested in any of it. He just walks around, just doesn't even want it, because he has changed his mindset that food is now a biological function. No different than going to the bathroom. You just eat because you need fuel, and then you do something more interesting. You're not doing food as an entertainment. So if you're bored, then you probably haven't been on carnivore long enough, because once you get over 100 days, all you want is red meat. For me anyway, and most people I talk to, that's all you want. I don't even want pork anymore. I don't want chicken at all. No desire. And it's because your taste buds change, your relationship with food changes. And also there's something called the buffet effect. I don't know if you can Google it. There's studies on it. And the buffet effect is if you go to a buffet with all this food, you're going to overeat because there's all these options. The same thing on your daily diet. If you restrict yourself to a certain number of items, you aren't affected by the buffet effect. But if you're eating from a huge menu, every week's different, like I used to do, then you're gonna overeat over time for sure. So, and it's also not only are you eating bad food, you're overeating bad food.
Yeah, good stuff. My sister, both of my sisters are carnivore, and my older sister had sort of a meat aversion for quite a while. I went to her house and cooked up some ribeyes, and she didn't have one. She was just having chicken. And long story short, it was maybe 2 months into carnivore, she called me and she's like, "I love ribeyes now. I love steak now." It finally clicked for her. It took her a while. The only other thing I was going to say on this was my friend Amanda from Carnivorous Me. I remember her talking about having a meat aversion for a while, and I think her strategy was, I'm just going to fast for a while, maybe a day or two, and then I'm going to be really hungry. And the meat aversion went away for her doing it that way. So
that's the same thing I've heard others say, that a meat aversion could be that you're just not hungry.
yeah,
And even though you're triggering a time to eat, like we have this construct, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner is a construct, right? Because those things don't really exist. If you look back at evolution, there was no breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There was make the kill, eat till you're full, take what you can, and then go to the next kill. And next kill may be 3 days. It may be 5 hours. You don't know, right? So this is a construct, a civilization construct. And I don't think you need to do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you're not hungry, don't eat. If food doesn't sound appealing, don't eat. Go to the next meal.
That's why I love the whole fasting thing, like Dante's doing too, because it feels like we're so successful on carnivore because we're eating the way humans have been doing it since the start of time. And like Larry just mentioned, I think back in the day, you probably would have killed a big animal, feasted, and then it could have been 3 or 4 days before you ate another one. That probably would have been pretty darn normal for most people. Laura Russell, question: how do you handle naysayers at family holidays? Nice. I'm wearing my carnivore shirts such as Healing Humanity. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Got mine on today. For me, I don't have that problem because I'm so annoying. I think I got people coming over and they're probably like, whatever you do, don't say anything about steak or carnivore, or that guy's not going to shut the hell up about it. That's what I do. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys do? You got any naysayers at family holidays?
Thankfully, they don't like to be confrontational for the most part. They just try to stay a little more quiet now. But initially, it was harder because they would act like they were embarrassed to be eating what they were eating in front of me. And I'm like, no, go ahead, eat whatever you want. I'm not here to tell you how to do anything. And then if it goes both ways, that's a good thing too. So, just stay calm and stick with what you know works and let them ask you. That's the one thing I have noticed when it comes to conversations with family and friends about this is it can get heated like politics. And it's just one of those things where eventually they're going to see that you've had a change and hopefully they'll come around to it. But I mean, in some cases it takes years. I've been doing this. January 14th will be 3 years for me. And there's still people close to me and my family that are sketchy and skeptical of what I'm doing, even though I've had the best health of my life for the last 3 years.
Right. The thing is, I'm single, so I'm the only single guy here, I think, right? So I go on dates, and I can tell you right now that religion, politics, and diet are 3 hills that people will die on, and they will defend them to the end. So, it's tough being a carnivore, going on a date, and someone is not. I mean, I don't mind if someone's not a carnivore, and I don't. They can eat whatever, they can put whatever, but it's like I just feel like that I'm a big informed consent guy, and they're not informed, right? And I just feel like I need to tell them, hey, what's in that salad dressing?
Yeah.
I just feel like, would you like? And I ask them like, hey, would that salad taste as good without dressing? Would you eat it? I'm just curious. What do you think? And so I try to do that, but as far as the family holidays, my family's pretty much all carnivore, except for my dad. Now, my dad, I did show him, my dad's one of those old school guys that won't, I don't know. I tried to talk to him about it and he just shut it down. Right. And then I'm too old to change. I can't do. I'm like, whatever, Dad. And then I left him a video, the Chris Kenobi, the video about seed oils and cancer and all that he did down under. And my dad wouldn't watch it while I was there. I was there for 3 days. He would not watch it. And then when I drove home from it was down in Alabama, drove back to Texas, he called me on the way back. He said, I watched that video. And I'm like, you did? And he goes, yeah. He goes, that guy makes some good points. I'm going to have to watch it again. I'm like, okay, well, good. I said, you know, at least now you have informed consent. And he goes, well, that's what. And then he said, well, I'm still going to eat my mayonnaise. I said, well, at least now it's informed consent, Dad. That's fine. You go ahead and eat your mayonnaise. At least you know what you're putting in your body and you know what risk you're taking. Because we were all lied to. We were all told this is totally safe, or not just safe. This is better for your health than anything else you were eating. And they totally lied to us. So I'm a big informed consent guy. And but like you guys, you can't push people into it. I didn't push my son into it. I did listen to some videos while I was driving, while he was in the car with me sometimes. But that's what I did. I'm like, hey, I'm going to listen to this while we drive back from school. All right. He's like, okay. And he would start asking questions, but you can't push it on people. It's just like religion and politics. You never argue someone into them. You never do. You can't argue anyone to a political. They're not going to go, oh, you know what? You're right. I'm going to change parties, or I'm going to change my vote.
Right.
And they're never going to go, yeah, now I'm going to be a Christian because you argued me into it. You know, that's never the way.
Yeah. Yeah. You planted a seed about the seed oil and it worked. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it did.
Question from Grateful Keto. Have any of you guys battled muscle aches? I'm almost 3 months into BBB and E and still dealing with muscle aches. I've recently removed egg whites to see if that helps.
I have not. Caffeine's the only thing that had arthritis for me, but not. And also, well, caffeine did also trigger muscle soreness after workouts for me, which was not there when I wasn't doing caffeine. So, or I don't know if it's caffeine or coffee. I should say coffee. I don't know if it was. I've never had a caffeinated drink without coffee. Would they make them? But I just haven't done that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see Grateful Keto if you did like 2 weeks of the Lion Diet, if that cleared up. Some people can't handle eggs, and that can cause different things. I've seen some people have different reactions to eggs, so I think that's smart to try that. But I don't know if you've tried just going full Lion for a week or 2 weeks to see if that would clear up. I know for me, once I left keto and went full carnivore, and I mean, I work out pretty intently with resistance training. I mean, hardcore, 3 to 4 days a week, and I don't ever get sore, never. And at 54 years old, if I have seed oil, like at that Waffle House where I had some scrambled eggs and bacon, I didn't know it was in seed oil. Usually for the next 2 to 3 days, my shoulders hurt, my elbows hurt, my knees hurt. It takes 2 or 3 days to get all that out of me. So I don't know if you've tried just going full Lion for a couple of days to see if that helps cure that up.
Yeah, you look at Michaela Peterson. She had to pretty much do that. And actually, she doesn't even eat aged meat. She has to have fresh meat. And because it's N equals 1. Everyone's body's a little different.
Yep.
You can say generally, carnivore is a proper diet for every person. But there are specific, everyone's got different biochemistry. So your diet may vary a little, and maybe you just have to eliminate everything and add them in one at a time to find out what's causing it.
Right. And your body will tell you pretty quick.
Yeah. It's amazing when it's clean. It tells you real quick.
Yeah. I did Lion Diet. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say one of the things I kind of found out at the end of 2 years was I was getting this stiffness in my muscles for a while, and I couldn't figure out why. It was usually in the back of my legs or in my calves. And I knew I was getting plenty of electrolytes, so I didn't think it was a deficiency there. I actually reduced my salt intake, though. After 2 years of having it all the time in my drinks, I'd cut it down to about 50%, and I noticed that I started to have less muscle aches, and then it's been cut down even further than that since then. Now, I started adding more salt back when I started doing fasting because I needed the extra energy. Right. But if you've been doing Lion Diet for a while and you've been used to a lot of salt, your body may adjust to it. This is something that people used to tell me all the time, is that they don't need the salt like I do. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I guess there's something different about their body than the way mine works, because I tried to peter off of it before and it didn't work out too good because I lost so much energy so quickly. But then I've had good energy, even though I've reduced the salt intake. Yeah. And I haven't had any of the muscle stiffness. Back when I was talking about yoga and stuff at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, because I was trying to do stretches to get that stuff to work itself out, but it was still every morning I'd wake up and I just felt so tight. And that's one possible side effect that can come if you're getting more salt than you need. Not that salt's the bad guy. I'm just saying that you might change the amounts that you're consuming if you've been doing it for a while, and that could make a difference in your muscle stiffness.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I love those suggestions. I'm gonna say the same thing too. Like with the eggs, even if you remove the whites, if the eggs are eating soy or grain, some of those things
Right.
might be affecting you. Dante, you were on my channel. I think you were on day 900 of Lion, and I was on day 90 of Carnivore. So I'm like, I'm going to try Lion, and I ended up doing Lion for 60 days, and I felt so good. I always tell people the same thing Kevin mentioned. If you're stalling out or you're having any issue, if you're doing Carnivore, it's not that big of a stretch to go from Carnivore to Lion diet. Even if you just try it for a couple days, it might switch things up for you, make you feel better.
Yeah, I went Lion for a month when I stalled out at I went from 280 to 250, and then I lost 14 pounds immediately when I went Lion for the first 3 weeks. And I did it for 4 weeks, then I went back to Carnivore. But I still didn't add everything back in I was doing on Carnivore before. There's some things I just never felt interested in, like chicken. So even though I went back to Carnivore, it was actually, I think, a cleaner, more ruminant-based Carnivore is what I did. And that's what I do now.
Yep.
Question from Tanya. Question, when you brought coffee back, when your arthritis came back, was it black coffee or coffee with dairy? I'm guessing no sugar.
No, we did this one. It was black coffee.
Yeah, black coffee.
Oh,
there's some more down below. I can help find them if you all need.
The 40-year carnivore, Rick, Charger Mopar. Are you aware of anyone besides me who is never tempted by anything other than meats?
I'm not really.
I don't know. I mean, I was 40 years addicted to sugar. So, yeah. I mean, it's, I guess, to put that in perspective, Charger Mopar, I mean, I grew up eating a box of cereal, Lucky Charms, every morning. So, I mean, I literally would eat a box of Lucky Charms every morning with sugar added on top. And, you know, I am one of these guys that I'll tell you, it's taken me a lot of time to get to the point to where I can be around that stuff and not partake. And much like Dante shared earlier, when I would fall off the wagon, it was like binging. I mean, I would eat a whole thing of Oreos in an evening. Me too. You know, in 30 minutes.
With milk.
With milk, and then pay the price for it about 3 or 4 hours later. So yeah, Charger Mopar. I hope one day to get to that point. And it's gotten so much better for me over 9 to 10 months.
Yeah. I'm not tempted very much. I did keto on and off for years, and I did many cheat days, and kind of like Dante, I really regretted it. Literally every time I ever did a cheat day, I never once said, oh, wow, that was great. I'm glad I treated myself. I always felt miserable afterwards. And for me, I don't know, the stakes are different for everybody. No pun intended. But when I would cheat, my depression would come back, and my depression was really horrible. So I don't want to mess with that at all. But good question, Rick.
I hate people planning cheat days. I just got to tell you this, because in the Army, that's like, why did you fail? Well, we put it in the calendar. It was time to fail. You know, I mean, that's what it is. You're planning a failure. Now, if you fall off the horse, that's one thing. That's like Dante did. He did not plan that. He fell off the horse. He jumped back up on the horse and rode like no one saw him fall off. And that's what you do.
Got to.
Yeah. And then to build resilience, you have to learn from it. You evaluate what happened. Dante should go back and go, what happened that day going in there? What was my mindset? What I feel like? And how am I going to prevent that from happening again? We call it an after-action review in the Army. You do an AAR after a mission. You find out 3 things that worked, 3 things that didn't, and make your plan, modify it for the next time you go. So Dante should do that with his. You know, I've done it with mine when I've failed.
Yeah, so, AAR, or root cause analysis. We call them RCAs in technology world.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a tech guy too now. I'm a wireless network engineer, so I know RCAs. Yeah.
Nice. Ellie, our friend Ellie, Nourishment Redacted. How have your spouses reacted to your transformation on the carnivore or lion diet? They must be really happy. I know I am when I see my husband. He feels like a real man now.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's a big statement.
Yeah. Ellie, my wife joined in with me, and thank God she did. If Deborah probably wouldn't have went on this journey with me, it would have been very difficult. So we're empty nesters, and Deborah, my wife, she joined in, and that way we were eating the same, we were doing the same. We got rid of all the stuff out of the house, and no, it's been a huge change for me, and all of the improvements that have come along with losing 110 pounds, putting back on some lean muscle mass, and all the testosterone levels coming back to normal. It's all been great. So good stuff.
Yeah, my wife, it's it's not so much about the physical transformation, although she expresses some satisfaction with that. She's a real private, reserved person that kind of keeps her thoughts to herself most of the time anyway. So she doesn't get real excited about it. But what she did get excited about was the change in my attitude, the change in my behavior. As Carrie had mentioned, dealing with anxiety and depression was something that I had been dealing with too. And I think it was at its height when I started, right after 2020. I was the administrator at a retirement home. I had all these people's lives on my hands during this insanity we were dealing with. And it was tough times, not to mention we were struggling financially with the home, because people weren't moving in. They were being told by their doctors not to move into personal care homes or anything like that. So that was adding to the depression too. And I know from looking back at myself, I got angry so easy. I stayed angry all the time. And that change when it comes to my wife, being able to control my emotions, being able to have control over my thoughts. Yes, there's still pressure moments in life. Yes, there's still difficult situations you're going to have to deal with. But when you're mentally not clogged up with all the stuff that was in the food that I was eating, it has just made such a difference in how I approach difficulties and challenges now. I mean, I had a positive attitude before, at least I thought so, but I was very quick to break before. I was very, fast on the trigger with anger response or yelling or anything like that. And that was a huge difference that my wife noticed that, let's just say we were under a lot of pressure at that time period. It was putting a lot of strain on our marriage, and it has made a huge amount of difference because of the change in my personality back to what it used to be, at least from her perspective, because I was really going through it before. And then, the weight loss is great too, because, she was much smaller than me and I'm a big, heavy guy. It's, physics. It's easier if you're not a whole lot larger.
Yeah.
She's been
it's so
happy with
interesting. Dante and Larry and Carrie, here we are, 4 guys, different walks of life, didn't know each other at all before all of this stuff happened. And look how similar.
Yeah.
I mean, the energy, the emotional state, the depression leaves, the muscle comes back. This is not an accident. This is not just a freak thing. Exactly. And Larry, you're right. Everyone's a little different, right? We've all probably had a different road to get here. And, look at me, look at how long I've abused sugar, and look at all the symptoms I had, and I had to overcome those. But then if you look at our stories and you hear us, and this isn't scripted. Right. I mean, we didn't sit around before we got on here and said, okay, now we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this. We got on here cold turkey, and look how similar all this is. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, we've never met each other before this. I think so. Like I said, this is one of those transformational, life transforming things, right? And you get a brotherhood from that. You get a brotherhood of being a father with other fathers, other mothers with other mothers. In the military, you get a brotherhood of serving in the military or law enforcement or firefighters. There's a brotherhood because you go through the same things, but you automatically have this link, just like being a Christian. Like I can go to another country. If there's a Christian I meet there, they're reading the same Bible I do. We have that much in common right off. Right. We may not have the language, but we have beliefs, and that's huge. Right. And same with this. We have a knowledge and belief system here that is, very powerful. And it means that I can meet a carnivore off the street and immediately have a lot in common with them, knowing what they've gone through, that they've been a battle buddy. They've been in the trenches with me. And I give them respect. It's earned.
Yeah. You got to be kind of weird or kind of brave or unusual to do carnivores. So I think it resonates with other carnivores. It's pretty cool, Dante, what you said. It's similar for me too. The mindset for my wife and family. I remember what Dante said in his first video that I watched. He said, ultimately, I'm doing this for my family. Similar for me too. And the depression I had for so many years just being completely gone. I think my wife definitely likes that. Not strapping a big CPAP mask to my face every single night before I go to bed. That couldn't have been too attractive. Not having to listen to me snore anymore is probably a big
Right.
bonus as well too.
Right.
But yeah, it is remarkable, Kevin, how similar these stories are. I've been working on a video for the last 3 days about depression and carnivore, because that's one of the common threads I hear from so many people, even if they weren't deeply depressed before, just that their mood, their anxiety's down, their demeanor is that of they're happier, more in a natural state like a human should be. So anyways, I decided to do this video, and I just reached out to people, and I got about 20 people that sent me clips. And it's crazy how similar they are, like using the same words. Like, I was hopeless, now I have hope, and just it's really, really remarkable for sure. So
that mental illness is why and mental health is why I started my channel, because as a veteran, a retired Army guy, I've lost more people that I knew personally to suicide than combat after all these years of war. I'm not a unique case. So I started Mission Carnivore, which is my podcast and a video series where I interview veterans who have treated PTSD, they've treated severe depression, they've become, and not just veterans, also first responders. I interview both those because I think they're very similar. But I really believe that the introduction of the low-fat diet in the 80s has ramped up our suicide rate in the military among veterans. So to a rate where we're at 22 a day now, and that doesn't include Texas and California, which had the largest arguably the largest veteran, concentrations, but they're not even counted because they don't supply those numbers. They do a different accounting system. Those numbers aren't counted. And it also doesn't count for people that OD, which are actually, I think a lot of them are self-medicating. So they do OD, but they've committed suicide in a long, terrible way. And I know that every veteran I've talked to, every veteran without doubt has reversed their PTSD issues and come off all drugs, reversed all their mental illness, their suicidality. I mean, I myself have been that far down where I was at the point where I was thinking about, who's going to find the body, what's the next day going to look like, that kind of stuff. I was there. So I've been there, and I can tell you this, the change in weight is great. Yes, it feels good. The biggest change in me is the unseen burden is off my shoulders. And the unseen burden was always there. It was, no one could see it. I would smile. I'd be, how's it going? Oh, it's great, man. It wasn't great. And you never know. And up to this point, I've never had a tool that I could proactively help other veterans and first responders with. All I've had is, hey, Memorial Day is coming up, so I'm going to make a post on Facebook. If you're hurting, give me a call. And that's what I had. And we never knew who was hurting. We couldn't tell, because guys in the military and the guys in first responders, they don't like to share that stuff. So what you're doing, Carrie, by exposing this, it's huge. In this movie coming up, and also in your video, I think that's a giant thing, that people don't realize. That's the real power of this. My motivation levels changed. My, depression's gone. My anxiety's gone. All that, I can sleep well. These things are just amazing with no drugs. And that's the secret.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the reason I'm doing the documentary, was because of depression and hopelessness. We're covering all of the other topics, but depression and mental health was the big reason. And in fact, the video that I just mentioned, there's a vet in there. It's exactly like you said, did carnivore. He says the only thing that would help. The same thing I hear from all these people too was, I talked to my doctor, none of them mentioned nutrition. They just gave me pills, and this is the only thing that's ever helped me. So yeah, it's really important we get the word out there. There's so many hopeless people out there in the world. I wish I would have learned about this 10, 15 years ago.
Me too. All the people we could have saved, I think. The VA only knows to do drugs. What are you feeling? Okay, let's just prescribe this. What are you doing? They just prescribe drugs. That's all they know how to do. And it's also the standard of care. It's a federal facility. So they're going to do the federal standard of care. And it's terrible. It's really awful.
Yeah, completely ignoring the root cause of the problem. Did you all quit milk, cheese? And if yes, was it from the beginning? I'll answer real quick. I did, because I did keto on and off for years, and anytime I had cheese, I would just stall out. And on my YouTube channel, I get this comment all the time, like I stalled on carnivore, and I just answer back. I put cheese ? And almost every time they're like, yes, I'm eating cheese. And then like 20 other people will comment and say, cheese always seems to stall me out. So for me, I don't do it, but I know everybody's different. Some people are just fine with it.
I quit with it. I had it in the beginning and wound up coming off of it because it kept bothering me. So I might be a little more lactose sensitive or whatever, but I ended up leaving the milk and cheese.
Yeah, I cut milk out because it's got sugar in it and carbs.
Right.
I mean, if you have a super bad desire for milk, then you can get some heavy whipping cream, put some water in it, and drink that.
Mhm.
I mean, that at least doesn't have, you know, and actually check out a documentary called Pettinger's Cats. If you guys haven't seen that, it is a research study done in the 50s and 60s where they gave cats different diets, cooked meats. They gave them raw milk versus pasteurized milk versus evaporated milk versus, you know, all the amazing changes in these cats just from eating cooked meats and eating different milks with sugars. It'll blow you away. There's a video on YouTube. You can check it out. But yeah, I had to cut milk out because it's sugar and I'm a sugar addict, so I can't eat that. I did eat cheese, but hard cheeses in the beginning. And I put occasionally cheddar cheese on my burgers. Now I don't do it at all. I don't even desire it. I just eat meat. I mean, that's what I want. And like I said, eating is a biological function for me now. And it's not, don't think it sounds weird until you've done it. It gets that way where you just want to eat and then go do something more interesting.
Right. It's like not entertainment anymore. It's just something you got to do. Hey, I'm good. I didn't ask you guys. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We've already been on here an hour and 15 minutes. Do you guys any of you have a hard stop or?
I can keep going.
I can keep going. It's up to you.
Yeah.
No hard stop. I mean, if we got more to
Cool.
talk about, I'm just thankful to be able to help encourage people to get through this holiday season.
Yeah.
In answer to the question about cheese, though, I will say that I did not start using cheese initially. I added it back in about a year in, maybe. I don't know if it was earlier than a year or later than a year, but it was one of the things I tried to incorporate back in. And the hard thing with cheese for me is I get it in my head that it's an animal product and that it's just fine, but my results say differently. So every time I eat cheese or I have milk, I usually gain a little weight. I don't feel as good the next day. It's difficult to go to the bathroom. I mean, cheese and me don't get along, but it's also one of those things that it's too easy to justify once you bring it back in. If you know it's a problem for you, you just got to stay away from it. And I've even tried raw milk, and people said that was going to make a difference, but it didn't work any different for me. Some people might do fine using raw milk as opposed to pasteurized milk, but I think for the most part, people don't respond well to dairy once they're a certain age.
Yeah. Have you tried goat milk?
No, I haven't.
I have. It's if you like goat cheese, which I do. It's got a little finish at the end of the drink, kind of like you had a little goat cheese. So I actually like it, and it doesn't have the same proteins that cow milk does. So a lot of people that have problems, you could try it. I mean, it wouldn't hurt if you want to. Of course, you don't need it, obviously, because you don't desire it. But if you want to ever try it, it's pretty good, actually, I think. I don't drink it very much. I got it once in the last 6 months, I think. So there you go.
Question for Dante. Looking back on it now, what are some tools that you feel like you or anyone else could use when faced with temptation, again, like a pie?
Well, for me, it's going to be recalling the difficulty that I went through the last time. And, the fact that I documented it helped too, because now I've got that 9 days etched in my brain. I won't forget that it was 9 days of difficulty after that. And when you see those things, it's real easy if you can draw on something like that to remind you, is it really worth the few minutes? I mean, it's literally only while you're eating it that it seems to have any benefit. You haven't even swallowed it all the way, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. You almost want to spit out what you got in your mouth, and it's just not worth it. So if you can hold on to a bad experience and hopefully repeat them less as a result of it, that's probably one of the best tools, because I'm sure many of us are going to fall in that area. And if you've been doing it steadily long enough, it's going to make a bigger difference, because the longer you get all that poison out of your system, adding a little bit back into a clean system is going to react more violently than adding it into a system that is used to having all these pollutants in there. I mean, our bodies are pretty resilient. We can adjust to eating the bad stuff that we've been eating for 50 years and still have made it this far, even up to the point that we started eating this way. But that's just because the human body is an amazing thing, and it's able to overcome a lot of the things we're doing to it. But once you start to get all that bad stuff out of there, the key is keeping it out once you know what's not good for you. And that's where Lion Diet comes in to be so helpful, because it narrows it down to just a few things, those very, very few things, even more than your standard carnivore way of eating. So that way you're getting the cleanest meat you can get. You're only getting salt. You're not getting pepper and other plant materials to see if your body's going to respond well to those. Like if you had any gut issues like I had, or any autoimmune stuff, getting off of all of it is going to help out for you to know what the problem is. Because once you start to feel better from doing something like Lion Diet, you can try to incorporate maybe one food back in. You want to be careful not to obviously add anything back in that's got sugar and seed oils and stuff like that in it. But at the same time, you also don't want to try to test too many things at once. We get excited and we think, oh, well, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that, I'm going to have the other. And then if one of them is giving you trouble, you don't know which one was causing the problem. But I know that goes beyond answering the question. I just wanted to make sure I covered everything as far as that went.
Good stuff. Question. I eat approximately 12-ounce ribeye New York strip a day. I don't feel full nor hungry, but I find myself wanting more to eat. I think I can eat 2 steaks a day sometimes. Thoughts?
I would listen to your body.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some days where I'll eat 2.5 pounds of beef in one day. And then there might be days where I may eat 8 to 12 ounces. If I'm not really hungry and craving it, I don't eat it. If I'm craving it and I'm still hungry, I'll eat. But I'd rather eat it in one sitting instead of grazing all day, because I find grazing leads me down a bad road. Snacking, I just eat until I get full and stop.
Same here. Question, Carrie, do you think you'll come up with some long sleeve Healing Humanity t-shirts? Yes. I thought there were some on there. I will add them here after the call, and thank you for that. Every penny we get from those goes right towards the documentary, so really appreciate that. Did Dante sous vide that steak? Does sous vide make the steak taste better?
I did not use the sous vide mode. I did use the Dreo Chef Maker. Because I was watching football up until the time we started this call, I just threw it in the air fryer at 450 degrees for 15 minutes because I was in a hurry to get it done. I stepped out while we were talking, as a matter of fact, so I could get it started. So I wanted to get it done fairly quickly, and I was ready to break my fast after I'd had a few carnivore crisps. It had been right at 30 minutes. But sous vide is great for making steaks softer. The only problem I have with sous vide is getting the sear on the steak that I want. I've tried with a grill, I've tried with a cast iron skillet, and I've tried with the air fryer after using sous vide. And I got a video coming out soon that's going to be talking about that. It was supposed to come out in the morning, but I'm still waiting to hear from the manufacturer of the sous vide device so that I can know we're ready to roll with it. But it's sous vide is a interesting idea, and it does make for much softer meat, especially on your tougher cuts. I had some ribeye the other day that's not a tough cut, and it tasted like I cooked it in the slow cooker. It was so tender. So it's great if you like a tender steak, or if you have dental issues like I do, like multiple crowns, and it makes it easier to keep stuff from getting stuck underneath those crowns when you're chewing. So sous vide has some benefits. Some people swear by it. They just love it. The only thing I never really loved about it was all the extra work, because it's just more stuff to do to get the same result that I could, do it real fast in the air fryer. So it's almost every day. I mean, time is always a factor. I'm always either getting ready to go take the kids somewhere, getting ready to meet my wife, getting ready to do something for work, getting ready to do something for the video. So every time I make a meal, if I'm going to do something longer, most of the time it's because I'm going to be sharing some new information about a different cooking style or something like that.
If you want to get a similar performance without getting the sous vide, you can do a reverse sear in the oven. I don't know if you tried that. but you bring the temperature up to the core temperature you want the steak at, like maybe 100 or 105, and then you sear it. And what that does, it evaporates all the moisture on the outside, so you get a great crust. And the sous vide, you still have a lot of water there, and most of the energy goes into flashing that water into steam. So that's why you don't get such a good crust.
What temperature are you putting the oven at on that?
225. And put a temperature probe in the steak. You can look it up online. I have a video actually where I do it in a smoker. You can do the same thing in an oven. Just set it at 225, put the steak in there. When the internal temperature gets to the target, then you pull it out and you sear it in tallow. And it gets a great crust. And it's also very tender because the heat just breaks it down.
I did something similar when we filmed Bill in Alaska. We cooked it in the oven, and then my daughter Emma and I seared it over a campfire. It was pretty darn good. One of the best steaks I've had in a while.
Yeah, they're good.
Carnivore Cheer, my biggest naysayer challenge is others' response to my not eating salad, and salads are often perceived as healthy. Have any of you encountered the salad comment?
100%.
Yep.
Salads are a joke, in my opinion.
Yeah,
they are.
It's like, how much lettuce do you need to satisfy yourself? Like 10 heads of lettuce? What is there, 14 calories? And if people that say they like salad, they really like the dressing and the cheese and the croutons and all the stuff on it. If you really like salad, then you just have some lettuce and eat it. And then the dressing, my goodness, it's just full of seed oils and all sorts of horrible stuff for you. So I'm not a big fan of salad. That doesn't even get into what sort of pesticides and stuff are sprayed all over the vegetables that people then rinse off on the sink, and they don't think any of that's actually absorbed into those vegetables. They're just slowly poisoning themselves with the seed oils and then the trace amounts of pesticides that are on those things.
And then the fiber
right,
you can't digest goes in and ferments in your gut, gives you gas, gives you farts, gives you constipation over time. I mean, no thanks. Eat away, guys. Do what you want.
I get fired up on that one because a lot of people say to me, Carrie, you would have done the same thing if you just did plant-based and ate salads. And honestly, before I did carnivore, I was strict keto. That's pretty much what I did. I had salad for lunch, salad for dinner, and then I have a little piece of chicken because I was scared that red meat was bad for me or would clog my arteries. And I was miserable. I had depression, anxiety, arthritis, IBS, problems sleeping at night. Got rid of the salad. Now I just eat the meat and I feel great. So
100%.
I haven't had anybody confront me specifically about salads, but one comment I often get when the statement comes out that I only eat meat, I still have to qualify it to say that means I don't eat vegetables, because they're still like, what? You don't eat any vegetables?
Or fruit.
Right. I only eat meat.
Surely you have a little fruit though, right? I get that all the time too.
Nope. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, if it wasn't Frankenfood, I might not be against that. But so much of the fruits and vegetables we can get today have been altered from their original state to the point that they're processed foods, even when they're grown for the most part.
Right. Has anyone noticed that many unsalted butters have natural flavors added, but not the salted butters? Kerrygold is one like that, and some other brands too.
I have noticed that, and we predominantly, I still use butter, but I use salted butter, but we use a lot of ghee. When I want butter, I use ghee.
Yeah, same for me. Adam from Carnivore Today. Shout out Adam, Carnivore Today. What brand of machete is Dante using?
That knife is a Culina.
Nice.
There you go. Awesome.
Hey, I'd like to shout out real quick and tell everyone that if you can mash the thumbs up on the video while we're watching it, that'd be great. It'll bring more people. And also make sure to like and subscribe to these guys if you aren't.
Yes, 100%. Anyone's watching from my channel too. I listed everyone's channel in the description. So
me too.
Follow, subscribe, give them some love for sure. Paul has a question. Any advice? Carnivore for 5 months and the wife is worried I'm getting too skinny, but I feel great.
Make sure you're not under eating. And your body should automatically get to its optimum size. So maybe you are a thinner person. Now, if she wants you to get a little more meat on you, maybe you should consider working out. Doing some band exercises resistance, lift heavy stuff and run sprints. Don't run cardio, run sprints if you can. Anyway, those will put muscles on you, and you should firm up a lot too. Congratulations, by the way. That's a good problem.
Yeah, good job.
That's a good problem. Like my dog. My dog's a carnivore, and I took him into the vet, and the vet's like, I never say this, but I think you need to feed him more because it's always the opposite. Everyone's dog is metabolically ill because they're eating this garbage like we were, and my dog is super healthy.
You know, sometimes people say that thing about being too skinny, though, because they also perceive that as being a health issue, because they've known people who had cancer and then they lost a bunch of weight because of the medicine they were on. And it's like, oh, they're sick. That's why they're losing weight like that. So I think there is a part of a lot of people's psyche when they see somebody who they're used to seeing be large, not being large anymore. The assumption is, oh, they're sick. Something's not right. And I'm not saying that that's what his wife was saying, but I think that's a common motivating factor, is that people just assume something's wrong. If you don't look the way they've seen you all your life or for years at a time, they just, they say things because they don't know. They're not used to seeing somebody lose weight because they meant to, because that doesn't happen very often, at least not since before this carnivore revolution's been going on.
Right. That's a good point. I've had several people say that to me too, and it frustrated me, but I guess you're right. They probably mean well, but yeah. Are you okay? Are you all right? And I'm like, when I was 100 pounds heavier than I am now, no one was asking me if I was okay. Now I'm healthier than I've ever been my whole life, and suddenly everyone's concerned about me, and I feel great. So, but you're right. They're probably they're not used to seeing that. What's the purpose of fat?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Good
adipose tissue.
Yeah.
It's food. Fat is food.
It's energy too. I mean, it's fuel for me. In the beginning, I was raised like most of us, and fat was bad, right? Red meat was bad. Fat was bad. And I had to overcome that. And in the beginning, I was doing too lean a meat, and my energy levels weren't as good, and my workouts weren't as good. And then I just completely went full fat, and it changed my life. I mean, that is where it's at. Eating protein and fat together is so critical when you look at how your body processes and how it all works together to digest that protein. You eat a bunch of protein all by itself, you start getting the same glucose and insulin swings. That fat is the key to your body being able to absorb and break down that protein throughout the entire intestinal tract.
That's a great point for any new carnivores too, because I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of people make. They don't get enough fat.
Exactly.
Dr. Kilt says it should be called fativore, not carnivore, because just eat meat.
Animal
I
fat.
can do it for you. I feel so much better when I'm getting plenty of fat. We went to film Maggie, the 82-year-old rancher. I think she's in the comments. And for breakfast every morning, she'd make eggs, and she cooked up a huge thing of fat in the cast iron skillet. And we would eat that with the eggs and the ground beef. And for that week, I have never felt better. And it's something I have adopted when I came back home afterwards. I thought I was getting enough fat before with the ribeyes and stuff, but getting even more now. So here's a fasting question. Recently completed a 5-day fast, however, suffered heart palpitations when eating. Could this be from not taking electrolytes during it? What about you, Dante? Dante, were you doing the electrolytes during your 3-day fast?
Yeah, I do the standard thing I do, which is usually have a Relight in the morning with my first water of the day, which is a scoop of that Redmond Relight electrolyte mix, which has magnesium, potassium, sodium, and chloride in it. And I use the unflavored version, so I don't want any extra stuff in there that's not, for the purpose of giving me electrolytes. So, I use that every morning, and sometimes I would do another one during the day, but I was also adding salt throughout the day to my waters too. So, yeah, I did. Now, I never have any heart palpitations that I'm aware of, but I also didn't do a 5-day fast. Matter of fact, the longest I've done so far is 4 days, and these last 8 weeks I've been doing 3 days at a time.
Yeah. I don't know what the heart palpitations are from, but I took electrolytes during my fasts also. And my friend Jeff, who's, I guess, the expert faster, like I said, he's done 33 5-day fasts every other week. He definitely recommends getting plenty of electrolytes. He was showing me, he does like a shot in the morning. He's like, it tastes like ocean water, but you get it over with, and then you drink some water regularly. So I was doing that. And I'll tell you what, I did a 5-day fast before I ever did carnivore. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. But doing the 5-day fast during carnivore, a lot easier, really easy, because I didn't have to get into ketosis. I guess it makes perfect sense. But I'm going to be, I've done 2 now. I did a 5-day and an 8-day. I'm going to continue to do more because I really feel better doing those.
Well, the first day and a half, you're still digesting what you last ate.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if you got this, Dante, but I would get this thing where it's like you don't feel your stomach anymore. It's just so light. Like it's just everything shuts down. There's this calmness that comes over your whole body. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out Carnivore Soldier. You're doing amazing work with the veterans and first responders. Thank you. Christy, Meaning Wellness.
Yeah, Christy's great. Thank you, Meaning Well. Thank you, Christy. Appreciate your support and your viewership and love your channel. So check her channel out too, guys.
Yeah, she's awesome. Question, Homestead How Carnivore Soldier. Would you be interested in speaking at NAMI, National Alliance for Mental Illness Group? All they ever discuss is drugs.
Well, I mean, are you representing NAMI? Because I don't think they've invited me yet.
Right.
And if they're representing drugs, guess who's probably paying for NAMI? NAMI probably wouldn't want me there because I would talk about all my friends and associates who cured themselves and got off all their drugs. So I would be interested in it, yes, but I don't think they'd be interested. So it's unfortunate, but
right. Yeah, likewise. If I could help someone that's hopeless or going through depression and talk about nutrition, I'd be glad to do that anytime for sure. Dante, when you mentioned that you changed your sodium intake, could you estimate a daily amount that is good for you now?
Well, I still really don't measure. I just don't use nearly as much in my water as I used to. I'd say I may use I use a 1 liter bottle almost all the time. And I'll take 1 ounce of Soleil water and put it in one of these. And then I'll usually have about 4 to 6 liters of water every day. And it just depends on if I'm having more water, I may have a second one that's got a little bit of salt in it. But I still have the same amount of salt on all my meats. I haven't changed how I season my food.
All right. Question, I've been thinking about getting some 0 sugar jerky, but most jerkies have added seasoning and oils. Would you recommend no jerky, or is there a good brand to try? I've had trouble finding anything that was decent, although I shout out Maggie again, the rancher. She sent me some. I think she's going to be offering some. So Rancher Maggie, who I think was in the chat earlier, she's got a website. She's on Instagram. I don't know if she's starting to offer it or not yet, but she made me and Adam some when we got there. Big package of it with no sugar, nothing in it. It was delicious, but I haven't been able to find anything commercially or in the stores really. I think there's some stuff online maybe. I don't know. What about you guys?
I would get a dehydrator and get some thin cut ribeyes or steaks and like 1/4 inch and then flatten them. And there's videos on how to do it. That's how I learned. And then put them in the dehydrator, salt them, and then you can seal them with one of those sealers like I bought. It just seals them up in plastic and throw them in the fridge, and they're amazing, and they're 100% fresh and good for you. And if you're on the road and all you can get is some kind of jerky, then go for the cleanest you can find. It's better than, well, it's not better than burger patties, but I mean, it's not totally terrible. But you may feel it. I mean, just realize informed consent, right? Just make sure it's informed consent before you eat it. Whatever you put in your mouth.
Well, they're not the least expensive option in the world, but Carnivore Crisps has been wonderful for that for me. I wouldn't get any of the organ meats if you're looking for a jerky consistency. I would stick with something like brisket or even eye of round. I typically get fairly softer pieces of meat that way, but usually Carnivore Crisps are like a potato chip type consistency. So it just depends on which type of meat it is. But the brisket is my favorite. And it's not going to be, well, then again, jerky's not inexpensive either. So it's probably going to be in that same price range. But the only ingredients they use are grass-fed beef, Redmond real salt, and purified water. So it's the ingredients is the key. And most jerkies either have molasses or brown sugar or some other kind of sugar. And that's definitely what you would want to avoid being in your jerky.
Yeah, when this processed meats, that means they're adding vegetables. That's what processing meats does to make it preserved, whether it's sugar or whatever. These are plant-based processes they put into the meat. And we know that every addiction known to man, pretty much every one is plant-based. You know, whether it's sugar, opium, nicotine, whatever, they're all plant-based. So if you got to just avoid all plants, and that's a good way to not get plants, is not eat that stuff.
I was gonna say though, I am addicted to ribeyes a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's a different. That's not an addiction. That's a strong desire, I think.
Right? I don't know. It's borderline.
Yeah.
I'm 6 foot 149. My high school weight was 135. I've been off and on keto and will be going carnivore. When I drop weight, what can I do to help maintain? I dropped to high school weight on strict keto.
Lift weights, lift heavy stuff, and run sprints. And eat more. Eat more than you think you need. Just eat till the meat doesn't taste good. Listen to your body. That's what you got to do. Listen to your body.
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
super like it.
Robin Heron, awesome. Carnivorous grandma. Robin's the best. Has anyone tried Wagyu? I've got some American Wagyu, and it's absolutely delicious.
Love it.
Same. Yeah. A company sent me one to try, and he was talking about the science of it and how there's similar benefits, like if you're eating grass-fed beef. I guess the omega-6s. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the science behind it, but the Wagyu I tried was delicious.
Yeah, we get Wagyu
I know they're a little
burgers.
higher in monounsaturated fats, which are supposed to have a heart health component, even according to Dr. Baker. That was one of those things I wasn't sure about, because whenever I hear what's a good heart health component, I just assume that they're coming from the wrong information once again. But Dr. Baker had talked about that with Wagyu beef tallow, like what I put on top of my steak so that I can get the Wagyu flavor without the Wagyu price. I have tried Australian Wagyu beef, and it was fantastic. I'd love to try some Japanese or even American A5 grade Wagyu would be fantastic, but it's not really that important. It's not a game changer. It's not $200 worth of steak for me to want to do it, but I certainly wouldn't pass it up if there was one being offered to taste.
We get ground Wagyu here in Texas at our grocery stores, and it's nice because it does taste way better than regular ground beef. So every now and then I'll do Wagyu burgers for me and my son. When they're on sale, I'll grab them. And you can tell the difference for sure.
You got to watch out for other ingredients in those too, though. Some of these stores that package the Wagyu ground beef like that, a lot of times they do have some extra ingredients in there.
Yep. Agreed.
Question, I want to switch my dog to carnivore. What do you feed your dog?
I've got a video on that. If you go to my channel, I show how I make my dog food. And what I feed him is leg quarters from chicken leg quarters. They don't require as much fat as we do. Their brains are smaller. Our brains are big. We have big old brains. We need a lot of fat. So dogs in the wild, they will eat songbirds, snakes, voles, moles, that kind of stuff, squirrels, and they'll eat the bones and everything. That's what they eat in the wild, and they eat them raw. So I feed them raw chicken. I just grind them up, and I do 2 pounds a day. Now I have also links to a calculator to calculate how much to feed your dog. But I can tell you right now, my dog is 130 pounds. I feed him 2 pounds of chicken a day, and I buy 10-pound bags of chicken legs, or chicken thigh quarters for like $5.75. So it's cheaper than it was when I was feeding him kibble. The point is, and I just grind them all up. I get 80 pounds, grind it up, put it in my deep freezer in these 1-pound containers. And I have links for all that on my website, the grinder, the containers, all that stuff, if you want to know how to do it.
That's awesome. Is it just once a day you feed him?
I feed him twice, depending on your dog. I feed him in the morning and at night.
I'm going to be checking that video out. I've been trying to get my dogs carnivore, and they're about halfway there.
It's super easy. You want them on raw, but you can start them off with warmed in the microwave a little bit, and and then get colder and colder, and just till it's room temperature. That's what my neighbor did for his. He didn't like it initially.
Kel asks, what is the best fat to add? I think Dante just had a little can of it back there in the background. That's some good stuff, right?
I think it depends on what you're going for. If you're looking for flavor, this Wagyu beef tallow, it has the consistency of a very light icing. And when it goes on to a sirloin steak or a ribeye steak or whatever steak, it melts on top like butter, and it just adds so much flavor to the whole steak. But I mean, if you're just wanting to add some fat, some of the best fat you can get is suet, which is the kidney fat from a cow, and that's the purest and smoothest fat you're going to find. It's great for rendering down. You put it like in a crock pot or something like that, chop it up into small pieces, then strain out all that extra pieces that come in the fat, just have the liquid in there, and then dry that in, or not dry it, but cool it in a dish of some kind, like one of those saran bowls like I usually use with a cover on it. And then I'll keep some of that in there just to spoon out onto my steak whenever I want to add a little bit of fat to it. Or sometimes I'll just eat it right out of the container, maybe put a little salt on it. But suet is obviously great. The Wagyu beef tallow from Chicago Meat Packing, I got a link on my site for it, or on my YouTube channel. It's on most of my videos right now because that's actually the second can I've got. I bought the first one when I started doing this fasting thing, and I was surprised how quick I went through it. But it turns out my wife loves it, my kids love it, so everybody's wanting to eat my Wagyu beef tallow.
Which brand is that? Can you hold up the camera and tell us?
Chicago,
did you get on Amazon?
South Chicago Packing. Yeah.
Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Okay. I want to get some. I use butter. And I just get the Costco grass-fed, grass-finished butter because it's cheap and it's kind of like Kerrygold. Tastes great, but I want to try that Wagyu because I know Wagyu steak tastes amazing.
I did try cooking with it, and it tends to scorch a little quicker because it's so soft. I guess it just it burns a little faster. We made some eggs with it, and it made them taste great, but they tended to burn a little quicker.
I did the reverse sear like we were talking about earlier, and then I finished it in Wagyu tallow on a cast iron skillet.
Wow.
And that was pretty darn good. Yeah, good stuff. Hey, we got a super chat from Michael Jackson. Thank you. $15. Think most are like me, do need some flavor with my meats. Would be nice if someone did a video on a product like Flavor God, Frag Out Seasonings, and G. Hughes sauces. They are mostly 99.9% no carb, no sugar.
It's not the carbs and sugar that you have to worry about on those a lot of times. It's the seed oils they put in there and actually sugars have 56 different names if I'm correct, I think. So sometimes they'll put things in there that aren't labeled sugar, but they are. So you've got to be very careful with any seasonings other than salt.
Yeah, I got to the point where I used to smoke a lot of meat, and that would be the thing, the rub and whatever you put on it. I still smoke meat all the time. I smoke ribs. I just put Redmond salt on it, and it's amazing, even with that smoke flavor, how good it tastes. But I don't mess around with any of the seasonings or sauces anymore. I did when I was on keto, and yeah, like Larry mentioned, you get the seed oils and issues with that. So I mostly try to avoid those. I think Carnivore Kip's done a couple of videos smoking up meat, and I think he still uses some seasonings. So
he does.
Question: how many calories is a woman allowed to eat in a day to lose weight? OMAD: 1 brisket burgers with 2 slices of Swiss cheese, 4 extra large shrimp, 6 egg yolks, and a protein drink supplement. 1,162 calories. I'm not a good one to answer this. I don't count anything on carnivore. I just eat meat till I'm full. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm like you, Carrie. I mean, I got caught in counting calories and doing all the macro stuff early on in my journey before I went full carnivore. And quite frankly, it led me down a very dangerous path. I'm going to talk more about that in the future. But yeah, I just eat until I'm full. I haven't counted calories in over 9 months, and 110 pounds of fat gone.
I don't count calories at all either. No macros. I don't count anything. People, and it bugs me sometimes. People are like, well, how much protein do I need? I'm like, you know what? When you were eating pizza and cake, were you worried how much protein you're getting? Because I guarantee you, a steak is infinitely more protein than a pizza, and you weren't worried back then. So don't be worried now. Just eat the steak. Trust the process. Trust your body. Yeah. For her, I would nix the protein drink. Guarantee you don't need that, and I would cut the cheese out. And don't worry about how much you're allowed to eat. What you're allowed to eat is how much until you're not hungry. Eat whenever hungry. Eat until you're satiated, and repeat. That's all I did. Dante, what do you think?
Yeah, that's exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was thinking. Everything from the protein drink and the cheese and the eating when you're hungry. I mean, because if you start to try to get in a battle with your hypothalamus that's trying to tell you to eat, and you're trying to say, no, I don't want to eat because I'm worried about calorie restriction, you're going to put your body into starvation mode. And then anything you do eat is just going to get stored.
That's kind of the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Carrie, I'd love to. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at some of the video loops, but there's one specifically that I'm making to drive more engagement to the Healing Humanity website. And it talks about just this. I really think, and Diane, I don't want to gloss over this because I do believe counting calories and everything that comes with that is something that it needs to be addressed, because a calorie is not a calorie. And I really feel strongly that as people begin to fully understand, Carrie, what you're doing with this documentary and the Healing Humanity website, my goal is to start preaching that and get people more aware of what this website is trying to educate people on, the cancer metabolic therapy, but also Healing Humanity. There's so much going on in this website. And if you want to talk about mental issues, you start counting calories and you start trying to get down that, and you're tracking macros, and you're constantly told, eat less, move more, eat less, move more. I got caught in that. And it is a very dangerous mental place to be when you start having these issues and you start feeling like you're not doing enough, or you're not moving enough, or you got to eat less, and you start living hungry. It is no way to live. And those lead to very serious issues. So I take that comment is a deep one. There's a lot going on there. I'm not saying that you were there, Diane, but I believe a lot of Americans, especially American women, are really caught up in this vicious cycle where they are told it must be them. You must be the problem because a calorie is a calorie, right? Well, no, it's not. A calorie is not a calorie.
Right.
100%.
I don't know, Carrie, if you've had a chance to even look at those video loops, but I'd like to get those out here one of these days soon.
I have. Yeah, they're excellent. Thank you so much for putting those together. I'm really working with Adam to get those up on the website and then share some more. But I totally agree with everything you say. I think that's the beauty of carnivore is we're just doing naturally what humans have done. I love carnivore because I don't have to think about it. It's why when people are like, why are you so confident about carnivore? Because it's the only way of eating I've ever had where I'm not counting calories or carbs or thinking about anything. I eat till I'm full. That's what humans should do. We shouldn't have to sit there counting macros and carbs and calories and worrying about things. Question. Looks like we just got a couple more questions here. We're getting to the bottom of it. Have you noticed a change in your skin, face, and body? And what better? Thank you. I'll take that quick. I have for sure. When I did my 30-day update video, my thumbnail showed a before picture, and I had these huge bags under my eyes. They're pretty much gone. They come back in the morning, though, so some people will say that. And everyone was like, you Photoshopped that. And I'm like, I've been on YouTube for 8 years now. You can go watch like 100 videos and see these huge bags under my eyes. They were there for years. So that kind of cleared up, and my hair seems like thicker. And so, yeah, I did notice quite a few changes in my skin and face. And body in general, I guess, losing a bunch of weight, muscle going on quicker, things like that. What about you guys?
Well, I know I used to have really red skin all the time. Like it was just red everywhere. And then I have rosacea too, which I still battle with, but it's much less since I've been doing this. But my skin tone is a normal skin tone for the most part now. It's not looking like I'm a fire engine going around most of the time. And I used to have a lot of dry skin up here. I still get some occasional dry skin in my beard area, but for the most part, I don't have dry skin issues like I used to. And I've noticed that I don't get itchy as easy either. I don't get dirty as easy. It's kind of funny. It's very easy to go several days without thinking about taking a shower because for some reason I just don't get body odor unless I eat something I shouldn't eat. And then sometimes I guess the toxins come out of my system that way. But yeah, another interesting one was the sunburn. I didn't get sunburn after I started eating this way, even if I didn't have any sunscreen on. Now, I was able to get a burn at one point because I fell asleep in the pool and was out there for a couple of hours. So, I mean, you can still overdo it, but I used to get sunburned very easy. And now when I go kayaking or I go swimming down at the spring or scuba diving or anywhere where we're going to be outside, I don't wear any sunscreen and I don't have any problems. I don't burn anymore. And another weird one was that I noticed that mosquitoes don't like me as much as they used to. I used to get eaten alive by mosquitoes while my wife's standing there not having a problem. And now it's the other way around. She's battling the mosquitoes and they're not biting me. I don't know if it's because of the carnivore, but it certainly was something that I used to be very susceptible to before. I think my skin is just a lot healthier than it used to be. And it's able to fight some of the stuff that I've got going on, like the rosacea and all the allergies that I have. I'm allergic to just about every grass and every tree out there, even though I live in the country. But my skin does a heck of a lot better now than it did before.
Yeah, anyone else's heels not crack anymore and split? My heels used to get really dried and cracky, and they get painful sometimes. And now it's all healing up. Like there's not cracks there anymore.
Yeah, I haven't noticed that one, but I had the same sunburn thing with Dante, and that really fired a lot of people up on social media when I said carnivores don't get sunburn. I pissed a lot of people off with that one. It was like 50-50. People were like, yeah, that happened to me too. And then the other half were like, no, I'm carnivore. I still get sunburn. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to tell you. There's something.
Well, a lot of carnivores do get the seed oils. I think the seed oils is the key on the sunburning.
I agree. Yeah. And the fact that so many people like Michaela Peterson and so many people overcome these skin issues on carnivore, it would make sense that maybe you're less susceptible to getting burned when you're on carnivore, when all these people are curing all these skin conditions when they're on carnivore. So, but yeah, that's been the case for me too. Don't get sunburn. Don't get the body odor either.
I don't use deodorant anymore. Crazy, except for like when I go on a date, just because I'm like, maybe, I don't know. I don't think I need it, but it's just a habit, I guess.
You did say you were single.
Yeah. Still.
Got to dot those I's and cross those T's on those days.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Looks like we got 2 more questions here. Freedom. How do you add suet to your steak? Mine seem to render down to a liquid.
Yeah, well, once they become a liquid, you store them in something like a glass Pyrex or something like that you can cover, and then they'll get solidified. You can leave them sitting out on the counter too. I've had them out there for as long as 3 weeks. There's nothing wrong with that fat that fat when it's sitting there like that. And if there was anything wrong with it, you'd smell it or see it. There wouldn't be any hiding it. So it would be something you would know. And it's almost like thick butter, I guess, is the way you would look at it when you render down the suet like that. You just use a spoon, scoop some out, stroke it over the steak, slather it on there, or eat it in pieces like I mentioned before. I sometimes do just right off the spoon.
Nice.
All right. And then Rocket Girl asked question, thoughts on how to best prepare a hickory smoked ham for the holiday? I'll take a shot at that. I would be very careful with ham. Got to watch out for sugar and things like that. I used to do in the smoker. I would do I think they called it like a double smoked ham. Like you buy it and it's already smoked, but you throw it in the smoker and get some really good smoke on it. Of course, then I would lather it with all sorts of horrible things because that was pre-carnivore. But if I were to do one now, that's what I would do. If I could find a ham that was nice and clean without anything on it, I'd probably put it in the smoker again and get a nice smoke flavor on it and go from there.
Yeah, I haven't done any ham. I've never been a fan of ham, even long before this.
Me neither.
Yeah, and especially now, after we've eaten real meat for so long, is like, why would I, on a special occasion, why would I eat a worse meal than than my normal? If it's going to be Christmas Eve, I'm going to eat a dang ribeye, man, because that's the top shelf.
Right.
Yeah, if it's not beef or ground beef, it's bacon or pork belly for me. I don't really do a lot of hams.
Yeah, same for me. Now I think about it, 270 days I haven't had ham one time. So cool. I don't know, guys, do you see any other questions that I might have missed? I think we got to the bottom of the list there.
I think we're good.
I think we got through them.
We got 2 hours in, so I guess that's pretty good run, right, guys?
That's pretty darn good. There's 460 some people on here. So yeah, if anyone's watching from my channel, we're streaming to multiple channels here, but please follow these other guys for sure if you're not already. Got a link to each of their channels in the description below. I think Larry, did you have a video going up with Dr. Chafee today?
Yeah, a video. Dr. Chafee put a video up today. We did that interview a while back, and it is talking about PTSD, suicidality of veterans and first responders, and how the carnivore diet, being a brain doctor, the guy knows, right? I have a theory. He knows the facts, kind of, right? So my theory that like a low cholesterol diet, there's plenty of studies out there that show a low cholesterol diet causes people to make impulsive, violent actions, and I think and also get other mental health issues. And I think they implemented this low cholesterol diet back in the 80s with the low fat diet, right? And you see all these things like eat your oatmeal, eat your Cheerios, get your cholesterol down. Well, low cholesterol is a bad state for a human mind. And I think because of that, people are not well suited to deal with life problems. So yes, soldiers usually commit suicide because of money problems, because of relationship problems, because of legal problems. But is it really that? I think the tipping point just got moved over to a point where it's much easier for them to take their life than it is for them to deal with it and fix the problem. So they get a permanent solution to a temporary situation. And that's what we talked about in there. So it's a great video. Please watch it.
For sure. I'll be watching it after. I suggest everyone go check that out if you need something to do after we shut this one down.
Chafee's brilliant. Really brilliant.
He is.
I mean, and listen, the guy is legit, just like you guys. We were talking about carnivores. The guy has answered questions to my viewers in huge paragraph. I mean, he didn't know them from Adam's off ox, and he writes this big response back that's personalized about someone's problem. And I'm like, man, where's this guy find the time? And just the size of the heart this guy has.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
He's a good guy. I think he works like 18 hours a day. My buddy Bill in Alaska had some issues he needed. Chafee just called him up privately, talked to him, helped him out. His intentions are 100% good. Really good guy for sure.
100%.
Awesome. Well, this has been fun, guys. Anyone else want to say anything else before we shut her down or shout anything else out?
How about Merry Christmas?
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry
Absolutely.
Christmas, man. This is it. This is the season.
It's awesome to be able to get together like this just before the holidays, because I know a lot of people are going to need a little bit of support, and hopefully the live stream will help some. And I'm thankful to be able to get together with you guys, because I mean, I never saw being a part of anything like this when I first started. So it's wonderful to have not only the whole community out there, but to be able to join with you guys for this holiday season has been wonderful. I appreciate you getting together with me.
Absolutely.
Oh, we appreciate you. I mean, we all got influenced by you. So appreciate what you've done and what you continue to do, Dante. It's 100% a great thing to do. And I don't know about you guys, the three of you guys, but this is my first carnivore Christmas. I assume it is yours too. This is the first low stress Christmas I've ever had in my life. It is. And even the financial side, because I saved so much money on food eating this way that I had extra money to buy presents. It was nice. It's been a low stress Christmas for me.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah. Thank all of you too. I really appreciate it. And anytime you guys want to do this again, I'd love to do this again, or regularly, or whenever, for sure.
Absolutely, guys.
Sounds good.
I'm all about it.
Awesome. Well, we'll end it there. Thank you everyone so much for all the comments and nice words. We really appreciate it. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.